to Stirling Castle, Scotland's ancient powerhouse, perched on top of a 350 million year old volcano, but I'm glad to say the volcano is extinct today. Its wonderful 360-degree views explain why it was such a strategically important site for hundreds of years, and this royal fortress dominated Scottish history for many years because of its position. It overlooked the bloody battlefields of the Wars of Independence in the 13th and 14th century, and the Battle of Stirling Bridge was won by the Scots against a superior English army just below, led by the great Scottish hero William Wallace, perhaps better known as Braveheart. And set in stone in the castle esplanade is the great Scottish warrior king, King Robert the Bruce, who defeated a much larger English army in 1314 at the Battle of Bannockburn, which lies just below the castle. As you make your way through the 18th century military defences, you stumble onto the most enchanting garden, Queen Anne's Garden. It's believed that there's been gardens here since 1400s, and these have served as a playground of royalty, including an infant Mary Queen of Scots. The wonderful beech tree is over 200 years old, so it's not only the old stone walls that have seen Scottish history unfold. Before the age of cannons, would-be intruders to the castle used mighty siege engines such as catapults, and today we see some of these missiles turned into garden wall decorations. Overlooked by the mighty royal buildings, we now proceed to the older quarters of the castle and find ourselves in the outer close. This was the business quarter of the castle, where skilled craftsmen would set up their workbenches to maintain the castle. In 1689 the Grand Battery was constructed, bristling with cannons, which proved very effective when Bonnie Prince Charlie and his Jacobite army came calling in 1746. However, it's the upper courtyard that is the royal heart of the castle. Years ago you would be in the presence of nobles and royalty in this area. This is where the kings and queens walked, entertained, danced and feasted amongst their grand buildings, an expression of their grand designs. The buildings are magnificent here. The Great Hall was built in 1503 by King James IV as his banqueting hall and Parliament building. The hall was completed in the year that he married Margaret, the sister of Henry VIII of England. The colour of the hall is king's gold, allowing it to be seen for many miles in the surrounding countryside. James V was known as a Renaissance man. Wealthy, learned, he had great taste in fashion and an even greater ambition that Scotland took its place as a progressive kingdom in Europe. It is no surprise that his palace reflected his grasp of culture as well as the latest architectural styles of the age. He even included himself as one of the statues in his lineup of gods and the greats from ancient history. The interior of James V's palace was sumptuous for these late medieval times. The walls were decked with intricate tapestries, which were hugely expensive. Throughout the palace, the unicorn features greatly, being the mythical beast which was used as a symbol for Scotland. The Stirling heads, as they're known, are the heads depicted on the ceiling of a room within James V's palace. They depict the great leaders of the time intermingled with classical heroes such as Hercules, and their vibrant colours impress all who pass by below. The Chapel Royal was built by James VI in less than 7 months in 1594 for the baptism of his son Prince Henry. A magnificent feast was held in the Great Hall to celebrate this baptism. And inside the Chapel Royal, there's a magnificent frieze to celebrate the coronation of Charles I in 1633, showing the crown jewels of Scotland, the crown, the sceptre and the great sword of state, known as the Honours of Scotland. But welcome to the magnificent space, the interior of the Great Hall, dating to 1503. This was the largest civic space under one roof in Scotland when it was completed, and what a spectacular roof. 350 Scottish oak trees were used in the construction of this hammer beam roof, and not one nail was used. The hall was draped with rich tapestries. The guests were warmed from the heat of 5 great fireplaces, and the largest of these was close behind the royal thrones and the dais at the end of the hall. minstrels would provide the music for dance and entertainment from the gallery high above the hall. We've only placed a foot into the history of Stirling Castle. However, I hope that this may be followed by many more footsteps.